Welcome to the mid-year update for Zacks Value Investor Service. This is the service that buys value stocks and holds them for who knows how long. I guess a finite period of time, but it could go on for a while. As the editor of the service, Tracey Ryniec, who's here with me, will tell us, could be years, right?
It could be,
these?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hold for as long as we want. We have held some for as much as 3 to 4 to 5 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
But right now, we don't have any of the long-term holds in there. We basically did sell out of the longest, oldest holdings, and I think 2 years is the longest we have going right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's take a closer look at what's going on with the service here. So growth stocks have been the hot strategy for a few years now.
Yeah.
We've talked about that in the past. Have you been able to find value stocks that also have some of that growth in them?
Well, that has been my goal since we are in the area that's not hot. But yeah, we've been able to combine the two in a lot of our picks over the last year or so. And we've gotten some real strong winners off of that kind of strategy. And thankfully, there have been some value stocks that have that strong growth component to them. We have a couple stocks that
like big gains, right?
Yeah.
100% gains.
Yeah. Some of our big performers have been in that growth area. One is the staffing company, AMN Healthcare, which is the medical staffing. I like that area a lot. I like all the staffing companies right now. I mean, how can you not with the employment situation as strong as it is? So
and comes in handy if you're ever looking for work, too.
Yeah, and as the market tightens, that's when you go to recruiters because you can't find anyone. So you're willing to pay someone on the outside to help you.
Right.
So this is kind of their glory time. I remember 1999, a lot of the recruiters got basically rich off of that market. So we may or may not see that again, but staffing on the medical side too has been real tight because the baby boomer nurses and doctors are retiring and then they need care too.
Sure.
And so there's a shortage still of nurses, and it's very lucrative to place those types of people. So we've done well in AMN Healthcare, and then Micron is our other big triple-digit winner, and that's been on the growth side. It's supposed to have triple-digit earnings growth this year, which is just tremendous. Everybody's been waiting for the end of the semiconductor cycle, but they keep saying they're not really seeing it yet, and those estimates for this fiscal year are still rising. Probably for next fiscal year they will be too. They just reported, so some things are in flux. But even fiscal 2019 is looking pretty good with the semiconductors now, which nobody thought would be happening. Those stocks are still cheap. We're still riding them, but we have a couple more than just Micron in the portfolio now, and that's kind of the area we've been trying to get some of the growth component because we are basically locked out of the FANG stocks, as you might think, because of those valuations. But yeah, we're still able to find some growth.
What about energy? That sector seems to have value in it. Are you loading up on names in that group?
Yeah, we've been in and out of energy over the last couple of years. We had to be patient because we were in there pretty early. And so it's been a little rocky over those tougher times. But finally, here in 2018, it does look like that sector has bottomed on earnings for sure and is turning around. Crude just pulled back off of its recent highs, so some of the shares have come back down. We own mainly we own mainly the exploration type of companies. So we don't have any of the service side. We do own the ETF, the XLE, which is the entire sector. That's been kind of meh for us, really. But now that the whole sector's on the upswing, there's no reason to sell it now. So we're still staying in that. But we own mainly the E&Ps. We have the big ones in Occidental and in Pioneer. Then I added a small one recently in the Wild Horse, which is real small. Most people never heard of that one. That's been pretty volatile because it will move on the price of oil, and we added it when oil was a little bit higher. So it's come back down, but this is a buying opportunity on some of those real small players. So yeah, energy, I still like it. I feel like it's still undervalued. I don't rule out getting into maybe one of the service side. We'll have to see.
Okay. Wild Horse.
Yeah.
Sounds like a name in the Kentucky Derby. What about trade and tariff issues? Any exposure there?
We do have some. We own 2 of the container companies. So those got beat up pretty badly 4 to 6 months ago when there were bigger issues with the trade tariffs, fears about it. We got in when they got beaten down, and they've rebounded, they've pulled back, they rebounded again. It's a little dicey, even I admit it. We're probably going to sell, we'll probably sell out of at least one of them because there's no real reason to have both in there, except they were both cheap at the same time. So that's an area of concern I am monitoring. And then we own one of the auto retailers, Lithia Motors, which unfortunately I do think we're going to have to get out of. I'm just concerned about the tariffs they might put on the auto industry, and the retailers very exposed. If suddenly any import is, with a 25% tariff, well, they're going to have trouble selling those off the lots for sure. And it's just going to be very volatile in any kind of auto stock. That's not supposed to happen until supposedly August, if it happens. But the market is forward-looking, and if they think it's going to happen, they're going to start to get real nervous. So we're probably going to get out. We'll wait on the sidelines on those, any auto stock, and we might be able to get a deal once everything shakes out. And if there's a panic or something, we might be able to get back into some of those.
Speaking of forward-looking, let's talk a little bit about the second half of 2018.
Okay.
What do you see happening as far as value is concerned, and what's your strategy?
There's still a lot of value out there. I know you keep hearing about this is 1999 all over again, and everyone knows 1999 had no value going on, pretty much.
Right.
But there still is. Like I said, even the semiconductors, yeah, they're cyclical, but they're trading at 4 or 5 times. That's not overvalued for what they're doing. And I still like the banks, the financials. We have a couple financials already in the portfolio, but we've got the big cap, JP Morgan. We have like a big regional out in California, and we have a smaller one out in the Southeast. I still kind of like those smaller size regional-ish community banks that nobody's heard of unless they live in that region. And I do think that nobody's really paying attention to the banks again, and that there's going to be further upside there, especially with the Fed indicating they're going to keep raising. This is good for the banks. So yeah, I still like the banking area, and there's still values around, poking around in several other areas. And retail, I'm still keeping an eye on. We've got lucky on our retail picks, but a lot of the stocks have soared in there. But there's still some cheaper retail names that are out there. So yeah, I think we're going to be fine finding value stocks for the second half. And I don't think people should be worried about that aspect of it. And I hope to kind of focus a little bit more on the small caps, because I do think that is where the market is headed right now, especially with trade tariffs going on. We have some small caps in the portfolio, small and mids, but I'd like to bulk that up a little bit more. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to check back with you later in the year.
Yep.
And in the meantime, don't forget you've got the commentary and the updates that come directly to your inbox from Tracey, because, as I said, she edits the service. So you want to pay attention to those in between these video updates. Something else you might want to pay attention to, if you haven't already, the podcast page on Zacks.com. Tracey does a couple of real interesting podcasts there. She has some very interesting guests from time to time as well. New episodes weekly, so check it out on the podcast page with Tracey. I'm Terry Ruffalo.